Hello, friends, and welcome to Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it. I'm Joy Selden. I've seen almost everything.
I'm Danielle and I've seen almost nothing.
And we did it. Well, we haven't done it yet, but we did. We watched it.
We did.
Watched it.
And I've promised a new noise, which is "Hoo boy." There it is.
That's pretty good for these two episodes, I think.
I think a "hoo boy" is absolutely appropriate for these episodes. Especially since, and I'm just going to jump right in, we open with Amelia's backstory, which, I mean, spoiler alert, she has an overbearing father. Color me surprised.
I know. Wow, she's got daddy issues. Who knew?
Ta-da!
It was either going to be daddy issues or mommy issues. We've chosen daddy for her in particular. And her dad is extremely overbearing, never proud of his kids, and puts a lot of pressure on them to solve the wait, what did they call it? The great mutant
outbreak.
Yeah, the great mutant outbreak.
Yes, like very disease-wise. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very,
which is
very
why she
pandemic.
Calls it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is, oh, woof. So it's not only that he wants to eradicate. He wants to eradicate the great mute outbreak. He also wants to bring humans back to, and I quote, their rightful place. Which, again, remember those fastest red flags we've been talking about? There's one.
Yeah. Oh, no, their father. Oh, I guess we should jump into this, too. Dr. Amelia had a brother named Liam.
Had. Emphasis on past tense.
Emphasis on had. Don't get attached to Liam, friends. He doesn't last very long.
Yeah, and you know, I was wondering as the show introduced Liam, it was clear that Liam is no longer in the show, right? So something happened to him. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering which direction the show is going to take it. Like, were they going to take it in the direction of Liam was killed by mutes? Mm-hmm. And so, oh no, we have to have a great sympathy for Dr. Amelia. She's clearly living with this uppercase T trauma. Instead, they took it where they took it, which we'll get to that. And I appreciated as part of her backstory.
Yeah,
you know, we already have a sympathetic villain, rather, in this show. I didn't really need to.
Yeah, and I appreciate that they went that extra mile to go that extra mile, which I think on my way back when I watched this the first time, I don't remember what I thought was going to happen, but I'm pretty sure I was surprised by the direction they took it in. I mean, again, we'll get to it, but it brings a really interesting definition to monster and what we think of as a monster and, like, you know, how human, you know, there are good humans, bad humans, and good mutes and bad mutes and that whole thing. And it's like, it's a lot grayer than anybody thinks it is, you know, but we'll get there. So we get a little taste of Amelia's backstory. We see them first as teenagers, her and her brother. And, you know, eventually we see them as adults where she's basically running the borough at that point because she's, you know, she's determined and she's got fire. She didn't lose her fire, whatever the hell that means.
I read it as like she was put in charge of some sort of task force. Yeah. I mean, they probably called it a project, but I'm going to go ahead and call it a task force. I enjoyed how in that scene, first of all, her and her brother's bright blue eyes were not lost on me. I think that was very purposeful. And second, I like how when she is first elected leader of the task force, we'll call it, the animators drew in a young Leo in song, like clapping along and cheering as she's given this position.
Mm-hmm. They have that complicated past too. I mean, one of the first things, you know, we're doing it again. We're getting bogged down. But I promise, real quick, one of the, you know, first things that we ever see Leo and Song do together in their own backstory is, you know, they're looking up at the stars and they're watching the mutes from afar. And then they have this realization that they can't keep doing the work they've been doing, you know, and like, that's how we met them. Like, we met them at their turning point, right? But Amelia never turned.
No, and it's so interesting that she is, at this point, 100% alone in that. Like, she is one of, if not the only human who has encountered mutes, been on the surface, explored, and hasn't found it within herself to acknowledge that not every single mute is a monster. Because even, I mean, Leo and Song, you brought up, and her brother's reaction to the surface, too.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, actually, I'm not sure. I'd have to go back to that episode. I don't remember if Leo and Song were actually watching Rebecca go across the plains, but like that is technically the first mute
I
that
think they
Amelia
were watching the
encounters.
dogs.
Oh, I think they were watching the dogs. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was the dogs like playing in the giant lawn that is the Great Plains that they somehow live near, that exists somewhere in California somehow. I mean, I guess when we put all of the humans and all of our industries, when we hit pause on that entire thing, suddenly there was a lawn in California. You know, that makes some kind of sense to me.
I know, it's that moment of like the urban. What is it like when the world takes the world back from humans?
Yes,
except you're also sitting there going, but isn't California a lot of desert? Aren't we desert? Isn't that a desert climate?
I mean, it's a desert climate,
but people didn't make it a desert.
Humans, it's very true. That's why I'm like, it's a desert climate, and it didn't have to be a desert climate in drought. You know, that was us.
Yeah, that was us.
But would there be a lawn?
Would there be a lawn?
You know what? Whatever scientists it is that study this field, get at us. I know it's not botanists.
Genuinely, I would actually love to know. I would love to know. Look, it doesn't necessarily even, look, if you're a scientist, do get at us. But if it's some industrious listener who's like, I know exactly what that is, get at us also. I'm here for it. Just
okay. Now, I want to remember to go back to this idea of nature taking back over these urban areas. But before we do that, so half of the episode is Amelia's backstory, and the other half of the episode is Scarlemagne and Wolf continuing on their little side expedition. Which of these two things should we talk about first? I always make you choose.
The age-old question.
Yeah.
I think we can kind of talk about them in tandem. I think we can find a way to talk about them both. So we mentioned they're teenagers, and then we kind of cut away to this picture of Dr. Amelia in her destroyed lab, working on something. And then the Kipo shows up in the molecules.
Yeah. So great.
Kipo is just everywhere. There's Kipo throughout this world, and that's fine. We love a Kipo.
I enjoy, Joy. Can I just say, I enjoy that in your headspace, Kipo is literally written across the world. And in my headspace, it's like in a musical where characters break out into song, but in the universe of the show, they're not actually singing.
Right. Like the people in the show don't think they're reading Kipo. They think they're just seeing leaves that are in a particular pattern. They don't see the letters.
But I like that. I like both options.
I also like both actions. I think it's the thought that people can see shapes in clouds, and someone can look at the same cloud and see a completely different shape. And my brain is just I would just Kipo forever in this world, everywhere. That's just it would be little mini rant about the Kipo that is everywhere, because Kipo, I don't know if we've talked about it at length, but there is.
No, we haven't.
The Kipo title shows up in the world itself every time the Kipo name comes up to give you, that flash, and then you have the real title card in the Age of the Wonderbeasts underneath.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating to me that it would be one thing if it was the arrangement of leaves. And yes, it's in a cloud, or you squint a little bit and maybe you look at a building wrong and then you see it in a mirage. It's on literal signs, though. There is a sign in one of these episodes that says Kipo on it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, that's not subjective. That is a sign that someone wrote with paint and craftsmanship. Yep. And that's all. That's it. That's the mini rant about the title thing. Maybe we'll go into that more in the wrap up. We'll see.
We absolutely should. See, I felt like I needed to pause what we were saying and address it because we hadn't talked about it before, and I think it's important that we do.
No, it is important that we do. Maybe maybe we'll do our top 3 ways that Kipo shows up in this world for our wrap up.
That's a lot of fun.
Maybe we'll do that.
Hopefully one of us will remember to do that.
I will make a note, damn it. Dang it. Demand it. I will do the note taking. So we have
Dr.
that.
Amelia is in her lab. Wolf and Scarlemagne are hunting Dr. Amelia down.
Well, so first Scarlemagne is just on his own.
Yes.
Beelining it for we pick up where we left off with that one. And then Wolf shows up and is like, I'm not arguing with you. Let's go. Where are we going? Is she this way?
And I mean, continuing Kipo's thing about how they bring out the worst in each other, because Scarlemagne fully thinks that she's there to stop him. She's not. She sprays him with air freshener, super helpful. And he leans in and, just tries to warn her and says, now, we're not just going to have a conversation with Amelia. And you don't really see Wolf's reaction because you don't need to see Wolf's reaction. Oh yeah, both of these characters, neither of these characters would like to only have a conversation with this awful woman. So then off they go, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, everyone else is not getting ready for prom, actually. Prom is beginning, right? Yeah. The humans are on their way, the mutes are on their way. And what's cool about all of this, right, is that the way that Dr. Amelia's backstory is woven into this episode is that we're actually getting Song's version of Dr. Amelia's story.
Yeah.
So this is the story that Song is telling as told to her by Dr. Amelia. Now, Song is claiming that Dr. Amelia just kind of explained all of this to her when she was in monkey form. Which really just leads me to ask some questions about
what she remembers, you mean?
And what Dr. Amelia was doing. How do you imagine this happening, right? Like Dr. Amelia is bringing Song some dinner, and then as Song is eating, Dr. Amelia is so lonely that she decides to just unburden herself and her deepest, darkest secrets to a giant mega mute monkey.
I mean, it's a good question. We actually saw some of, I don't know if we can kind of count it as some of that, but we did sort of see how Dr. Amelia talks to the Mega Monkey very briefly in a previous episode. This interesting how she almost talked to the Mega Monkey like she was talking to herself, right? She didn't really talk to Song. She didn't really talk to the Mega Monkey. She was basically just speaking out loud. Right? Verbalizing her thought. And is just, that Burrow girl is the girl I've actually been looking for 13 years. And, she doesn't say I think even at the very end, she's like, and you're going to deliver your daughter to me. But the whole speech before that, she could be talking to anybody. She could just be.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's interesting because I do. And I think Song was right because she was sort of saying how Dr. Amelia spoke to her as if she was never going to remember anything she said.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost when you because Song being a mute in Amelia's eyes is you are now a non-person, right?
Right.
You are no longer, you no longer have hopes and dreams and thoughts. You're no longer worthy. And it's almost like talking to a chair for Dr. Amelia, I think. And I am a little sad that we only really got that one snippet of actual Dr. Amelia talking to the Mega Monkey. I would have liked to see that a little bit more because,
Same. I'm just curious about what it was. 3 sides
to every story.
I'm just curious about what it was like, right? Was it like when you caught Dr. Amelia monologuing? Was she bragging? Did she feel guilty? And we don't get any of that because we're only hearing Song's retelling of it. True. Granted, I have to assume that Dr. Amelia wasn't feeling especially guilty or sorry when she was sharing all of this information, because otherwise I think that would have come through in Song's story a little bit more, or Song would perhaps have been slightly more forgiving towards her, whereas Song's impression is absolutely not, no way, this woman will never do the right thing.
Yeah.
She will always do what aligns with her current beliefs, and those will never change, right? And here's how we know that. And that's why she tells the story.
No, yeah. And I I mean, you also have Kipo, who's this poor confused mess because she can't track her friends and she doesn't want them to do the wrong thing, and she wants this to be Dr. Amelia's choice, but she also like loves the way prom looks, so she's very conflicted.
Okay, we have to talk about prom.
I know we have to talk about prom. Well, I think we can actually wrap up the Dr. Amelia flashback by this is that moment where we tell you what happened to Liam.
Yes.
Because they come out to the surface. Liam's all excited. I mean, Dr. Amelia is sort of also excited, but very cautious. And okay, but it's dangerous. And we meet back here in an hour,
I agree. I think she's excited in a, let's get some specimens way,
in a very science
Liam
way.
Wants to take selfies,
He just wants to take selfies.
The sun.
Look,
he wants to take selfies and feel the sun on his skin.
He is a precious jock boy who is the only love she's ever actually known, and her only support system, which is what makes this all the worse. So she goes off, and just like we talked about with the Scarlemagne and the Kipo, these two different experiences, right? Scarlemagne has terror after horror after terror. Dr. Amelia gets swarmed by. Oh, what is it first? It's the spider second, but it's something else first.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
It's funny that you were struggling to remember that, because I was also struggling to remember that and kind of hoping that you would remember. And the answer is that neither of us does.
It doesn't matter. I know she gets
spooked. The spider is second.
I know she gets spooked by Rebecca, and then I feel like something else happens, and then the spider comes at her, but she's able to act fast enough that she kills the spider and takes her specimen and goes back to the meeting place. And she's waiting, and Liam's not there. And she's like, oh my God, maybe something happened. And then a car playing loud music careens around the corner. And who is it but our beautiful Ratlands?
Brad and Amy. Oh,
it's Brad and Amy. It's Brad and Amy. And Liam gets out of this van. And Amy's like, I had no idea that humans were so cool, and gives him another shot of cheese.
The added tidbit here that I loved is that Liam is the inspiration for Ratland. Literally, Liam is the reason that Ratland is a safe zone for mutes and humans.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love
That's how
that.
opposite of Amelia he is.
I know. Not only opposite of Amelia, but in that way that both Amelia and Liam have actually left their mark on the surface. And it's very telling whose mark is whose,
Yeah, 100%. And I love that they both have that charisma in common. Because not everyone does,
Not every sibling.
Not everyone would be able to win over an entire crowd of people and get them to go on a cruise ship, But
Right.
Dr. Amelia sure was able to do that.
Yeah, no, they
Liam
both have
was able to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, Liam was able to make friends, and Dr. Amelia is instantly suspicious. And it's just what are you doing? They're the enemy. We're here to cure them all. You can't be making friends with any of them. And Liam says the thing that I think Zane said, sort of a bastardized version of this, but of what if everything we know is wrong? They're not all like that. I think we were misinformed. I think we can be friends with them. I think we can share the surface with them.
Right. And very much aligned with Kipo's vision of the surface, which is yes, we all agree. We all agree that humans should be back on the surface, right? Humans don't need to be in burrows any longer. What we disagree on is, can humans coexist with mutes on the surface?
Right. And it's that little tidbit of truth, how, Scarlemagne will add a little sprinkle of truth in what he says, and Dr. Amelia will add a little sprinkle of truth. Kipo is of the same opinion also. It's yes, humans belong on the surface.
We agree.
We agree on this. This is something that is, that is innate, that we need to feel the sun, that we need to run around outside. And maybe we don't have to kill all the mutes, just saying. But
yes.
So Liam has this epiphany, and instantly Dr. Amelia decides to kill him.
Yep.
And
but she doesn't even really hesitate. I don't think. And, you know, the reason she kills him
she
is because
weighs
he
it.
has...
She weighs it for about a split second and falls
like
real
barely.
hard.
Like barely.
I think
almost
it's
not at
you
all.
know what it is? Here's what I think it is. It's not so much a weighing the pros and cons thing, because Dr. Amelia doesn't really do that, right? I think actually what I think it actually is her ability to think 10 steps ahead, and she saw the future that Liam was proposing, and it was so and just like Song said, it was so diametrically opposed to the thing she's worked towards this whole time that she just could not let it happen.
Yes.
And so she killed
fascist red flag number 17.
Yeah.
The killing of dangerous
series.
Ideas. The killing of dangerous ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. No, literally. And that's it. You know, like, and especially, you know, almost that unifying dangerous in that, you know, it's almost a chaotic opinion, right? Like, sure, we could be friends with them, but what does that really mean? You know, that's not order from my chaos. You know what I mean? Like, that's just chaos, and that doesn't make any sense. And it's
right.
And you are right. Like, it is pretty instantaneous, but you definitely see her gears turning, and I'm pretty sure that's just what it is. She just like saw that future and went, nope, not on my watch.
You're right. I think when I said that she didn't even hesitate, what I meant was like she didn't hesitate emotionally. Like, there's no part of her that's like, oh no, my brother. Absolutely not.
Yeah, and I think that speaks again to her ability to manipulate emotions, but while not really experiencing them herself. Like, we've only really seen her experience anger. And like, we've never seen her experience real compassion. You know, like for a hot second, she's like, don't yell at my brother, Dad.
I mean, kinda. Not really, though.
Oh, God, wait. Doesn't she even just say, like, did you have to say that or something? Like, she doesn't even...
Maybe she asks, like, why did you have to be so hard on him? I don't know. I don't remember. Whatever she said, it wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough. Because, again, Liam was the heart of that. But, like, she couldn't even though she understood that this was her brother and she cared about him, like, she couldn't even really connect with Liam. Like, you definitely got this idea that there was still a disconnect there, which is why I think ultimately she's able to do that, right? And now she has a martyr.
Yes, she does. Wait, there's an idea here that I wanted to talk about before we move on.
Oh, yes,
which
please.
is going back to what you were saying earlier about nature retaking.
Yes.
I will say taking this urban area, is Amelia's insistence that everything the mutes have, they took from humans. And that's why she wants to wipe them out. Because according to her, if we let them exist, they'll do it again. As in, they'll take everything from us. And I was like, hold on, full stop, and pause.
Right.
Who took something from whom first?
These are the good questions. It's a very good question. I mean, this is again the you know, look, we are currently living in the year of our Lord 2022, where I would love to say we have completely abolished such nonsense bigotry within our own society, but that hasn't exactly happened. But there is currently in the US and in other places this bizarre idea that, oh God, how do I even phrase this for a podcast?
I don't know.
Do I even touch it? Do I even touch it with a stick? I'm just going to say it.
Watching to see where you go.
I'm just going to say it. And if we need to cut it, we cut it. And it's fine.
Okay.
No, there's this idea of I almost think it's like a manifestation of a particular human being's own selfishness isn't quite the word, but like how we are like the center of our own universe. Like every person has their own like personhood, for lack of a better word. And like we have no choice but to see the world through our own eyes. I genuinely believe that there's, whether through, you know, upbringing or again, whether or not you have that level of compassion, if you have higher compassion or lower compassion, that can also impact it as well. But like there's this idea that if someone does something better than you, they are instantly taking something from you. Or if you had all quote unquote always had something, that it was always yours.
Mm-hmm.
And I dislike this feeling. And it's not, it's been twisted in probably recent years. You can probably say the entirety of human history, but like recently, say in the last, I don't know, 100 some odd years, there's been a lot of like white people have had this and always had this, when it's like, but did you? But did you though?
Yeah. Like, let's unpack that word always.
Right.
Precisely how many decades back does your version of always mean?
Yes. It's how far do you go back? Is it decades? Is it centuries? Maybe it's centuries. But like,
it's barely plural on centuries. Like, we're barely plural on centuries. We are certainly plural on decades.
Yes. Plural on decades, I will give you that. It's just this, it's this ridiculous need to be like, if someone even breathes like the same air, they're not entitled to it. And it's this, it's such a bizarre, like it's bizarre, like almost prehistoric thinking of like everything that's different is bad. And it's like the lack of, what's the opposite of homogeneous? Everything that's not like you is different is not correct.
Heterogeneous?
Heterogeneous.
I mean, is the
it's
actual opposite.
But the hetero problem.
I think that you're aiming for a different word.
I might be aiming for a different word.
It's like treating everything like a zero-sum game, right?
Yes.
And it's like treating everything as if someone gets something, you're losing it. Even when that it is something intangible, like a specific civil right.
For example. Or the ability to, I don't know, own property, have a business, have enough money for your kids to go to college, have enough money to have kids, first of all, like have the ability to like exist in the world without somebody thinking that you don't have that inalienable right.
Now we're like gently tiptoeing around the thing rather than saying the thing because we are being recorded.
I know. I mean, like, look, I'm gonna come out.
We can't admit it. Have we been recording for 40 minutes? My computer thinks we've been recording
33
for 40
minutes is what I count. Yeah. I count 33 minutes. I'm pretty sure those last 7 minutes was just this conversation. So we'll see how much of that stays. But like and I'm just going to come out and say it. There's a lot that this particular brand of bigotry shares with, say, the white supremacy movement, where there's a fear that people who are not white, and well, usually not male, but let's leave it at not white, will take like everything from them. It's just ridiculous and stupid.
Rights, land, money, all the most important things. The most important
sexual
things.
Orientation.
Religious freedom. Did we know we'd be talking about this? It's hard to talk about this while keeping my teacher filter on.
I know. Look, friends, we've made it to the end of this show. This show is not subtle about its opinions about fascist societies. Personally, I would love to be a Kipo in this world of believing that people can genuinely change. But I am of the opinion of like, if certain atrocities have been done in the name of what you think is right and what is actually in fact awful, maybe you don't deserve grace.
And going back very slightly to the show, I think that Dr. Amelia deserves everything that she received. Or everything that she, I don't even know what the verb is that I'm looking for.
Well, so the show does a very good job of, and like we see this with, it's sort of skipping to the end a little bit, but it's going to allude to it. We're not going to talk about it yet. But like, it does the thing that a lot of like, for example, there's a lot of like Disney villains who like get themselves into trouble and then suddenly they're dead. Like they trip on their own sword and sort of fall over and die.
Oh no. Yeah.
So this show does that, but in a very, like, I feel like they establish it in such a way that it's like, and P.S. everybody, Dr. Amelia is not dead. She's just in a very specific prison, which we'll get to talk about in a second.
I think that she is in a much, 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 much worse place than being dead. Like, in my honest opinion, I think that what she got
they should have
worse
killed
than
her.
Death.
That would have been a mercy.
It would have been kinder if she had Gaston style just fallen off the side of a castle. Yep. Or, name any other vaguely off-screen Disney villain.
Well, my favorite one, real quick, is the one from Tarzan, where he basically just falls out of a tree. It's a little bit Gaston death. It's a little bit,
off a tree, off the side of the castle, eaten alive by a bunch of your minions.
It is a bit more graphic. It is a bit more graphic in Tarzan. I'm pretty sure, he trips and falls and like a vine might get him around the neck or something. It's a little more like, oh, that happened. Okay.
Oh, wait. Yes. Yep. I remember that. You're right. It was more graphic.
It was a little more graphic than, oops, I slipped off a castle.
100% more graphic. I still think Scar takes the cake on that one, though.
By
your minions.
Getting eaten by your underlings? Pretty bad.
Pretty terrible. Pretty terrible. But, he did some pretty terrible things, much like Dr. Amelia.
When you starve your minions, maybe they eat you. Is the lesson I take from... that's what I take away from The Lion King.
We eat the rich. Anyway.
The hyenas are the 99%. We've gotten off topic. Okay, so she kills Liam, she makes him a martyr, and she brings it back to the burrow. And even Leo is like, oh my God, I did so many things because I felt bad that this happened. And she created this whole emotional story. Mm-hmm. And this was, I think this was her burgeoning, emotional manipulation of other people. Because again, I feel like she herself does not have emotions, but I think she knows how to work them.
Yeah. And I think that she learned how to work them growing up in the house that she did too. Because you see it in the way that she, I know that she agreed with her dad in terms of his ideology, but she didn't agree with dad when it came to the way he treated Liam, right? And you know that because she does that little, elbow jab, I gotcha, buddy, with Liam. But she knows how to say exactly the right thing to get dad away from her and away from her brother.
Exactly. I would be very curious to know how her father eventually died, actually. I'd be very curious to know. But anyway, so...
Yeah.
We learn that.
My money's on old age.
We learn that. And then we sort of cut back to Scarlamine and Wolf, who have come across Greta. And Wolf, well, actually, we should talk really quick about how Doug and Greta share a little winky as the humans bring fire.
Hogue and Greta.
Yeah. I'm never going to get that right.
It's confusing. I know.
The show did this to me on purpose. They knew I was going to record a podcast, and they knew I wouldn't know the difference between Hogue and Doug. But so they share a little wink as they bring these fireworks to prom. And the other humans don't seem to, they're like, why are you coming if you don't believe in
no idea
Kipo's vision? Totally in the dark. So Greta and Wolf are fighting, which, man, do I love to watch them fight. I love to watch them. They're so evenly matched.
And it's great. It's great because I guess technically they're evenly matched because Wolf is a child and Greta is a full-grown adult, right? So in every single fight, Greta bests Wolf because they're equally matched when it comes to their fighting skills, but Greta is bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
Now I know that when Wolf grows up,
it's the karate versus sumo issue.
there's a season. I want there to be even a post credit sequence where, it's not 5 years from now, it's 12 years from now, and Wolf is fully grown, and she's like, all right, Greta, now let's do it. And just wipes the floor with her.
I know. Because she'll still be wiry.
Greta would be so into it.
But she'll be an adult, and she will have been fighting for, 22 years at that point, or what have you. No, right. I'm into it. Whoever's writing fic for Kipo, write that fic.
Yeah.
Please, and send it to us. It would be great.
Please, so good. Every time that Wolf is able to, quote, defeat Greta, she does it in just like a non-physical way. So this time, the way that she does it is that Wolf is fighting Greta, and Scarlemagne is off to the side, quote, not helping. Instead, he's doing jumping jacks and push-ups. We, the audience, know he's working up a sweat. Finally, he gets the sweat going, flicks him on Greta, and we get this great little moment where Wolf knocks Greta out.
Yes.
And Scarlemagne thinks that, like, it was just bad timing, but it wasn't bad timing. Wolf was doing that to help Scarlemagne uphold his promise, which was never to mind control anyone again.
Yes. She mean, like, forever. No, wait, what did he say? Did you write it down?
No, that was right. Like, was that for forever?
Is that for forever? I thought it was just for, like, 2 minutes. No, yeah, so Scarlemagne does what he do, and and they knock Greta out so that it can wear off, so that technically he will not have mind controlled anybody. And instead, what they do is they cook some pancakes for her while she's tied up, and they're like, okay, but if you tell us the plan and tell us where Amelia is, we'll give you some pancakes. And she like
now they don't ask for the plan, which was.
Oh, right.
Probably an oversight. Probably an oversight on their part. They only ask where Dr. Amelia is.
That's true.
Which means that Greta only has to give them one very specific piece of information.
And she does. She definitely does. Because
hot
pancakes.
Breakfast, Joy.
Look, breakfast can be hot. Look, I too have felt the yearn of a pancake. I was recently in Tennessee, where they love their pancakes. I can tell you that. There was a pancake joint on like practically every corner. And man, were they really good.
Oh, that sounds delicious. Although I would take a waffle over a pancake any day. I mean,
there was a Waffle House that we definitely stopped at.
Yeah. I think I'm on Dave and Benson's side on this one. Although, I mean, Benson does like his flapjacks, but they ordered Wolf waffles when they went to brunch.
They did. I mean, to be fair. Yes, they knew. Exactly, they knew. So Greta gives up the information on where she is, but Greta then also has this sort of moment of clarity. Look, I love Greta. Yeah. She's extremely naive, but man, does she not have very many moments of clarity. So she has this moment of sort of insight, right? Where she kind of sizes up Scarlemagne and Wolf. And she essentially says, like, right, like, you could kill Dr. Amelia, but, like, even if you kill her, the mutes are going to turn on you eventually. Like, that's what they do. Why do you still wear wolf pelt? Like, you stand there saying that humans and wolves are and humans and wolves, humans and mutes are friends, but there you are wearing a wolf skin.
Now, it took me a minute to understand what Greta was getting at there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but it did. Because what Greta is saying is that mutes will always attack, eat, or mind control us, right? And then Greta says, that's why you hide that you're human. And some part of me was like, huh? I don't know why it took me forever to put this together. Greta is pointing out that Wolf tries to look like a mute as a defense mechanism so that other mutes will be less likely to attack her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Which, and to Wolf's credit, she's like, I never thought about it that way.
Never thought about it that way. Never realized that this was something that was helping me and wasn't me just wearing my very big emotions on my almost literal sleeves.
Yeah. Which she does. She do.
Which she does.
That's
if a cape had sleeves.
But it doesn't. Had sleeves. It practically has sleeves. Well, we can't get into that. So she has this sort of moment of clarity, and it's kind of the same moment that Kipo had, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the "don't let this be your fan" moment of like humans and mutes will always fight each other, and like if we keep fighting, like we have to stop fighting, because if we go and kill Dr. Amelia, the prom will be an illusion and the war will be back on.
Yeah.
We have to we have to be the ones that change, which is really like where I kind of align with Kipo of like, it's for me, it's not about waiting for others to change. It's more for me about like, but I have to be the one to forgive people, even if it's not, like even if it's not necessarily obvious or whatever, which we'll get to with Scarlemagne because my boy, my beautiful boy. But so Wolf.
No, see, like I think that's why. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm like perseverating on this. That's why it took me a minute to understand what Greta was trying to say, because I thought that she was going more in the direction of, like, Wolf, you are wearing a thing that represents a time that you killed a mute.
Right.
Right? Like, I thought it was going in that direction. Like, you are wearing a thing that shows that you hate mutes.
I mean, it's both, right? Like, I think
it's both. It's both. And that's
both.
Not really the part of it that Greta points out. She points out the defense mechanism bit of it. But you're right. It is probably both.
Like, I mean, I feel like it's this interesting commentary that Wolf picks up on, which is why they have that great moment of like, I didn't know she could string more than 2 sentences together. Like, wow, I was not expecting that. Mm-hmm. Because I think it hits Wolf really hard because like the only time she's taken off the wolf pelt is when they were trying to deceive the wolves when the Newton wolves.
True. And the one time it got wet, but that was only around the campfire and only around the brunch bunch. So I don't know that counts.
I don't know that counts either. I mean, that's, being around friends and being vulnerable. That's fine.
Exactly.
But yeah,
she in that moment.
She exactly. And she has, I think, tried very hard to not be that person, and yet she still wears it.
Ah, yep. And she's like, you got me, you caught me. Right. I thought that I had made all of this progress, and she has. I'm not, discounting the growth that she has had as a character in this show, but there's like one final tiny piece to it, and that's her getting rid of that cloak, which is, I mean, kind of an interesting thing in terms of Wolf's character in like the number of things that she's had to actually get rid of. I mean, not Stabby. What's its name? Stalky.
Stalky.
Stalky being close. One of them, right?
Yeah.
She's lost Stalky. Stalky's gone, but now she has to lose this coat.
Yeah. And she's, she was extremely guarded when we first met her as a character. An extremely feral child who had no idea what to do with anything, right? And this is also why I like this journey for both Wolf and Scarlemagne, because what happens is they let Greta go, and then Wolf is like, well, I definitely have to wear something else to prom. And so they go back to Scarlemagne's old lair because he had a million pieces of clothing.
I love that that's where they go back.
I know. But he, of course, obviously Wolf has made her point, right? And Scarlemagne is like, yes, okay, you've made your point. Like, we can't kill Dr. Amelia now. And I feel like his gears were turning of but maybe someday, he kept that kernel alive.
I like that this was a realistic moment for me also, because the way that Wolf got through to him and the way that she also understands it is not like we shouldn't do this because it's ethically not the correct move, right? It's not about morals. It's not about ethics. It's actually about just standing up for your friends, which I guess one could say is an ethical or moral standpoint, but B, also about moving their agenda forward.
Bad timing.
Ultimately, yeah.
It's about bad timing.
It's about bad timing. Exactly. Ultimately, if they kill Dr. Amelia during prom specifically, then they'll lose all of the humans as allies, because all of the humans will think prom was just a trick, and realistically, they need to keep the allies that they have. So that's how they eventually get to, let's not kill Dr. Amelia.
Let's not kill Dr. Amelia, but also I need different clothes. So... ...
now.
Yes. No, now, exactly. Because it's bad form to do it now. Everyone will be suspicious. So...
a murder during a party.
It's like it's a murder mystery or something. Bizarre. So they go to Scarlemagne's old, hideout in this overgrown mall. And now it's Scarlemagne's turn to have a moment of regret. And he's not this person. He lived in this mall for, for 13 years. You know, like
Yeah.
he was this person and he wanted power and he wanted all these things. And it's like, right, but what did that get me? Like, I just hurt a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
And what did that really do?
And I think that even if he had been successful and gotten the empire that he wanted, he would have known deep down that the only reason people were following him is because he had forced them to, or they were too scared of him to do anything else, right?
Right.
And now he understands what Kipo was attempting to teach him, I don't know, 8 to 10 episodes ago. Which is that you don't have to mind control people and you don't have to scare people in order to get them to come over to your side. It's just, it took longer than the 20 minutes Kipo expected for him to internalize that particular message or that particular life lesson.
Well, that's because that's Kipo's journey, right? Kipo has to learn to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
And I feel like she does that later in this episode. So they're in Scarlemagne's old hideout. They find new clothes and they decide to go back. They decide to go back to prom.
I mean, quotes on new clothes. Wait, before we talk about prom,
okay.
Joy.
Yes.
I think we're going to have to do the thing where we only talk about one episode.
Oh, I know.
That's not a bad thing, though.
I know. No, it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Look, these last 2 episodes were really, really good, and we want to give them the attention they deserve. So
because we haven't even talked about prom yet.
We haven't even talked about prom yet, which also happens in this episode. I swear these episodes are 23 minutes, but there's so much.
I think we're gonna have to talk about prom, and we're gonna have to talk about the finale next podcast episode.
No, why don't we actually end it here?
Okay.
Because then we can talk about prom and all the stuff that happens after prom.
Oh, but then you can't let me forget about Wolf and Scarlemagne's outfits, because I have thoughts and feelings on Wolf
but let's
and
talk about their
outfits.
We can talk about the outfit.
Well, that's kind of prommy.
Well, we can talk about the outfit. Look, they eventually show up to prom, but we're going to talk about prom next time.
Okay, you're right. Okay, quotes on new outfits, because Scarlemagne is already in the regalia that he is always in. So he adds his star blanket as a cravat, which I think is perfect. That's all he needed to do to be ready for this very formal event. Wolf, on the other hand, is going from store to store and trying on dresses and complaining that they're all too floofy, and eventually gets to a point where she says, like, listen, how do I show my friend that I'm fully in support of her prom idea and I'm by her side and I don't like to wear dresses? And Scarlemagne goes, well, there are other options. And I so desperately wanted to see her in a sharp suit.
Oh,
and
same.
I did not get to see her. And I'm so sad. I am unfortunately pretty disappointed in her prom outfit. I was very happy with everyone else's, but I so desperately wanted to see her in a sharp suit, especially since Scarlemagne was the one who dressed her. And I think that Kipo would have allowed Wolf, to be in her black t-shirt that she's very comfortable in, and the cape, which was great, like a very nice cape and had the little star dots on it, similar to Scarlemagne's cravat, just a little bit less showy, right? Kipo, I think, would have put that outfit together. But I don't think that Scarlemagne is the kind of person who'd be like, yes, absolutely, come to a formal event in a t-shirt.
Well, I feel like Scarlemagne tried and failed to get her into something other than that. Because Scarlemagne has suits. We've seen them.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like I needed them to acknowledge that Scarlemagne would have put her in a suit. And it wouldn't have bothered me if they had spent like the 2 minutes it would have taken for him to put her in a suit and for her to like high kick the air next to her, and then the suit rips. And she's like, nope, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, yep, you're probably right. And then he gets her back in the cape. I would have been fine with that. But we didn't get that.
I mean, that's fair. In an episode where, if I'm going to say it, a lot happens. There you go. Put that on your bingo card. And in an episode where a lot happens, it is a little surprising that they didn't do like a real quick montage, because I would have been real jazzed to see a little try on montage. They're already at a mall It's already built in.
Already in a mall. They're at the mall. Just do it. Just give it to me. Okay, I've now asked for 2 pieces of Wolf fan fiction.
The cutaway scene of Scarlemagne trying to dress Wolf and Wolf being like, nope, 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 nope. And then she's back essentially in her own outfit, just with a cape. Perfect.
She would just, all she would have to do is like high kick or punch the air and the suit rips. Nope, doesn't work. And then she does that to like 5 suits. And finally Scarlemagne is like, you know what? Enough. Stop destroying my suits. It's all it would have taken.
No,
and
yeah,
that's outfit. That's my primary complaint with her outfit.
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
My secondary complaint with her outfit is that when she goes to prom, she is not wearing the beret anywhere.
Aw.
And it didn't have to be in her hair because I understand, like, maybe as part of the outfit, she wanted to do a bit of a different thing. But I thought it would have been very fun if it had been like in the little part of the
like
cape
the clasp.
tie.
Mm-hmm.
Like the clasp of the cape, the beret there, that would have worked for me. I wanted the beret. I wanted it somewhere and it just wasn't anywhere.
Yeah, it is a little sad that the beret wasn't anywhere. No, that's true. I do miss that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little unfortunate because it's like, while she's come so far, it's nice to build it up with the things that are hers. And I feel like the star cape is not her. The star cape is Hugo.
Yes.
And that's a little unfortunate.
It is. Why wouldn't she have the beret? That shows that that was her gift.
I know.
Her birthday gift from Kipo. It doesn't make sense to me that she would get rid of the beret. The suit thing makes sense with a headcanon cutaway scene. The beret does not make sense to me.
No, that's a completely valid point. Had I thought about it, I probably also would have been mad about it.
I think maybe Wolf's outfit has to be my one more thing. I think that was my one more thing. I really I had to get it out before we ended the podcast episode.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I feel. Oh, you know what? I know what my one more. I have 2 really quick one more things.
Okay, I'm ready. Are they both from episode 9?
Yes, they're both from episode 9, and they're both from the parts that we have talked about. So they're not from prom. Perfect. So there we go. In order to, no, actually, well, the first one is kind of abstract, but I actually wrote down Wolf is actually Batman. Because there's a moment where Scarlemagne is talking to Wolf and then suddenly she's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very Batman moment. And I was like, what if Wolf was in fact Batman?
Oh, so good. I wrote that down as Wolf catches someone monologuing again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Okay, and the other one is as they're running to go get Amelia, one of the first things Wolf does when she comes across Scarlemagne is she sprays him down with the air freshener so that Kipo can't track them. And he has this smart moment of like lavender scented breeze Scarlemagne. And he just has this moment of like, I wish I'd have known what you were doing before you did it, but that's fine. And I love the idea of a lavender scented breeze Scarlemagne. That's my other one more thing.
I love that. It's a really good one.
But that's it. Okay, everybody, I promise. That's episode 9. Most of episode 9. We will finish episode 9.
Episode 9. Julie, we only talked about 60% of the episode.
I know. No, I know. But this is also why we need to address prom next time, because prom leads so nicely into episode 10.
No, you're absolutely right. And hey, I think that maybe this is just one of those things we have in common, which is that we love a well-rounded villain. And they finally gave us Dr. Amelia's backstory. And how were we not going to talk about that for 55 minutes?
I know. Anybody who's been listening to this season should have seen this coming. So really, that's on you, listener.
Probably.
Not being up on our inability to talk about 2 23-minute episodes. Jiminy Christmas.
In 55 minutes.
But no, that's where we're cutting it because we don't want to give you a 2-hour episode. So here we go.
Nope. Okay, all right. So with that, everyone, we would love to hear from you. Please check us out at Binge O'Clock Pod on Twitter and Facebook, where you can answer the question, if you had to be sprayed suddenly with Febreze, which scent would you choose? You can also email us at bingeoclockpod@gmail.com. And don't forget, we have a Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/clockpod.
That's right. And tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell the live lobsters in your life about Binge O'Clock, and we will see you next time. Oh, no, that's right. You have a line or something.
I missed the bubbles. The line is upsetting to me because the line shows me that I'm absolutely doing none of the things that I should be doing on a recording. Like,
You're getting it all wrong.
What the line is telling me is that I should probably talk in the voice I use to calm children down, not the voice I use to excite children. Which, hold on, it's really hard to get into character. How would I say, hello, friends, it's Binge O'Clock in the voice I use to calm children?
Do you want to test it out?
It's hard because it's such an exciting phrase.
I know. You have to, I think you have to channel, like, your inner, like, cough. Well, actually, I don't know if you have a reference for this, but there are many radio shows with, like, the smooth jazz tones of people what's barely above a whisper.
I've heard very few of those actual radio shows. What I've heard more than that is like the Parks and Rec spoof of that.
Or the Saturday Night Live, which is where I was actually going to go with it.
Oh, see, I haven't seen that.
Where you have like 5 minutes of Alec Baldwin talking about his sweaty balls or whatever. And it's great.
A lower register.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But now I just want to make my voice lower. But that's not how I calm the children. How I calm the children. Sorry. Listen, I know we had a really tough day. See, it's much easier when you're saying things that you would actually say to calm a child.
Sure is.
Your friend called you a mean name. I get it. That really hurts. See, I'm not blowing out the mic. This is what I should be doing. But I hate it.
But you hate it. Well, it's you don't have okay. We will one of these days, actually Paul will be at the wedding. So maybe we can like have a quick convene about like, hey, walk us through some stuff. Why don't you? I can already tell I'm blowing it out, and I'm not even that close. Whoops.
I mean, like, sure, probably there's some like vocal training or some such, but also I can talk in the voice that calms children.
I know, but we can have. It's
not really an exciting podcast episode.
It's.
Hey, friends, welcome to Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it.
I want to keep all of this in as a tidbit for the very end.
I'm the young and I've seen almost nothing. Nap time. Children.
We need to do it. It needs to be like a Mr. Frowny, Mr. Smiley. Where I'm too bubbly and you're not bubbly at all. Oh my God. I'm sorry, Paul. Hi, Paul.
Paul's like, what are y'all doing?